Hey guys, I'm the 50s Kid. Several people have been asking me how high they need to jack their car up if they want to pull their transmission out of there and still keep it on their transmission jack. And I figured I'd use this chance. Obviously, I'm in the middle of my rebuild here, engine's out of here, transmission's on the transmission jack, my particular transmission jack, and I'm going to measure from the top of the transmission down to the ground on the side here. And basically we've got about 24.5, 25 inches to the bottom of that paper cylinder right there. So that's how high the car would need to be. Everything on the car would need to be. And you got to keep in mind right now, the lowest thing on the car is the bottom of the subframe. That's what the transmission would need to clear. But if the engine were still in here, I do believe that that engine sticks down, the engine oil pan sticks down a little bit as well. So that's actually something I really can't measure right now. But I figure some things I can measure for you are the height of the transmission, I think, from where it sits. And this is probably not entirely accurate, but the height of the transmission, let's just call it 18 inches. So my jack stand is up as high as it'll go, and it's probably about 17 inches high. And you know, this is probably like the shortest kind of jack they make. It's like the 2-ton jack stand. I honestly don't think that they would make any jack stand that's going to give you the kind of height that you need, because if this thing's 18 inches high and the transmission at its lowest point is still several inches too high to clear the subframe, let's see, that's at least, it's going to be at least, if we can just get this to the right point, it's going to be at least maybe 6 inches too low for, you know, the transmission to clear this lower the very bottom of this lower subframe. At least 6 inches too high. You would need jack stands that are at least 6 inches higher than, what was it, 17 inches that we just measured here. So I don't know that they make jack stands that are that high. It might be that you're just going to have to slide your transmission off of your transmission jack onto like a piece of cardboard, and then you can just, you know, easily drag the cardboard along your floor in order to get the transmission out from under the car, which is what I had to do all 3 times that I removed this transmission from the car. It was particularly the first time I did this job, I had a different transmission jack. I actually had the $100 transmission jack from Harbor Freight that does not have, you know, side to side and up and down tilting that this transmission jack does, which made it very difficult to actually reinstall the transmission, but it was a lot easier to actually slide this transmission up onto it, because I was just, I was able to tilt that transmission table a little bit. That's all it had, was just a little tilt. And I was able to get the ass of the transmission up onto it, and then I was just able to push the transmission onto it somehow, some way. It was actually quite difficult, and it's not possible to do that with this type of transmission jack. I recall what I did with this one is I actually had to use my 2 floor jacks. I have 2 floor jacks. I put 1 floor jack underneath here. I was able to sort of lift this up and then get the transmission under it, because this is sitting up a little high anyway, because the transmission pan sits a little lower than it. So it's, you know, this is already sitting up a little bit. I was able to just kind of rock the transmission on, you know, I was able to push the transmission, push on the back of the transmission and sort of rock it upwards. So this lifted up a little bit, and I was able to slide my 1 jack underneath this. And then in the back, I was able to slide my smaller jack underneath the transmission output shaft. So I had the transmission lifted up by this end with one of my floor jacks, and then lifted up by the front by the bigger floor jack. And then what I did was I just slid this transmission jack underneath it. You have to, you know, the transmission has to stay up in this cavity up here, so the transmission can't slide over onto the jack. You have to slide the jack underneath the transmission. You know, I was just probably able to move these arms like sort of
out of the way somehow and, you know, just get it such that I could slip this thing under there. And, you know, it is possible. I've done it twice. It's kind of precarious, obviously. It's a, you know, it's a pain in the butt. But that's what you got to do, you know. It's just not possible to lift this car up high enough, I don't think, because I don't think you're going to find jack stands that are high enough, first of all, and I don't think you're going to find a floor jack that will lift your car up high enough. I mean, you would actually, this is as high as my floor jack is going to lift my car anyway. I really couldn't get these jack stands much higher. You can get extensions for a floor jack, you know, for the little pad on a floor jack. You can get some extensions for that. So it's possible to do that. You can possibly lift the car up higher that way. But again, I don't know if they make jack stands that are substantially higher than this one. Maybe a couple of inches, but maybe not that much more than that. So you'd have to figure out a way to artificially lift them up higher, maybe some paving stones or something. You'd have to go that route. But yeah, I just decided to go this route. You know, you can get the transmission sort of lifted up in the air and you can get this floor jack slid under it. And it is possible, obviously, to do. It's difficult, but if you're determined enough, you can do it. Anyway, if you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. I'm the 50s Kid. Thanks a lot for watching.